And away we go. It is the BCJ Podcast, special Thursday edition, mainly because I'm kind of an idiot, but it is what it is. Welcome in. Brought to you, as always, by the Holy Grail. You're headed downtown. Make sure you stop. The baseball season's almost here. 3 weeks from today, it's opening day. You're headed downtown. Make sure you stop in and visit our friends at the Holy Grail. They will get you taken care of. And if you order a Cincy Light, 50 cents from every Cincy Light purchase will go directly to Cincy Reigns in support of athletes at the University of Cincinnati. So get yourself some Reuben wontons, great pizza, great wings, and always delicious cold beverages. Go see our friends. Support the people that support us at the Holy Grail at the banks. All right, Dave. Let's get this show on the road. How are you, my friend?
Doing quite well. I was telling you guys before we jumped on, I just completed a rousing dunk contest with young Mr. Will. I was throwing down the windmills and the off the backboard dunks, and kid is eaten up by hoops, that's for sure. But no, I'm good. I mean, you've got 3 spring practices we get to talk about. The free agency is Monday. The draft is less than 50 days away. Like I'm in a good mood.
I am not in a good mood, but it has nothing to do with sports.
Right.
So let's make this maybe the fastest BCJ pod we've ever done.
You're not going to get much of an argument out of me.
I will share a quick story, Dave, that I think, in light of the Jason Kelce retirement, so he retires on what, Monday? Was it that he retired? Yeah, he retires on Monday.
I think so.
I didn't want to bug him, but I did want to, send him a little note, thanking him. He's been a big influence in Kelce's life, and it's just, as you know, with Jason, he's been an all-around, good human being over the years. So I waited until
certainly a 2A 2G. All around good guy.
Oh, yeah. All around good guy. So I waited until Tuesday at like 7:00. I sent him just a text, congratulating him and thanking him for everything he's kind of done for us quietly behind the scenes over the years and being a good role model to Kelce. And I get a text back from him at like 8:25, which I'm like, oh, wow, cool. He got back to me. I figured he would be busy. If I heard back from him, cool. If not, no big deal. And then like 5 minutes later on Twitter, he's at the Cavs game.
Yeah.
With Travis, texting me to just acknowledge and, say thanks for the kind words and whatever. But I would not have texted me back if I was me in that situation. Hell no. Having fun with my brother at the Cavs game. Like, they're giving us jerseys and courtside seats and a big game against the Celtics. But that's kind of Jason. And he is as awesome off the field and the human that a lot of times these guys aren't the human they portray themselves to be. Sure. No, Jason's texting me back from courtside during the first quarter of the Cavs game. He's one of a kind, man. We talked about it a lot on Monday, but any thoughts on Jason as he heads into retirement?
It's we've not sure any new ground is going to be walked on, but just the story in and of itself from walk on to college player, pro player, and then incredibly good pro player with whatever it is, ended up being 13-year double-digit year career, whatever it was. I mean, you don't have many of those, regardless of where you go to school. and to have him, and now what they've done in the media, and I mean, it's going to be very interesting where his career takes him next.
Wherever the hell he wants.
Well, I mean, it's like, does he want to actually call games? Does he want to be, just be not I'm not going to say a Pat McAfee, but like a part of a program, but not actually like doing all the work you have to do to call it. I mean, he's got 3 small kids. Like, does he really want to be traveling a lot now that he's retired? Is he just going to go right back to traveling and being a broadcaster, or what kind of direction does he go? But I mean, you see what some of these guys are pulling in now, and you could make an insane amount of money in a very short amount of time. I mean, I know he's already done some of like the boot camps and things like that in the last couple off seasons. To potentially be a color guy. But again, 3 small kids, just got done with it all. Who knows if that's truly the direction you want to then go for 17 weeks out of the year or more. Again, just right after you finished it. And you're traveling every week for that. And
all over the place.
Half the time you were at least had home games. So
I think he ends up in a studio show, if I had to guess.
I mean,
I think that would be the best thing for him.
Yeah, I mean, be on Fox, on CBS, on NBC, Sunday Night Football, something, Monday Night Football, something like that, where you can be an ESPN guy, but you can with Teams and Zoom and all that stuff. Now you can conference in for the NFL Live on Tuesday afternoons for 1 hour. You don't have to travel and do pre-prep on Friday or Saturday, and then be in the city, and then call the game, and then travel back on either Sunday or Monday. So it'll be interesting. I mean, he just signed some ridiculous contract with whoever wants to pay new heights, and you just podcast and not worry about any of that stuff, and then you can say whatever you want and do it from the comfort of your home.
It's fascinating to see which way this goes. I mean, he could branch off like that. We mentioned it a while ago, and I've seen a lot of people catch on and say, they didn't take it from us, obviously, but like have him like do from tailgates, like go travel around the country and like pick the best tailgate spots or the people that do the most epic tailgates and do a weekly show off of that.
Yeah.
But again, there's a lot of travel that's involved in that. There's a lot of.
I just look at it as like if Spotify paid Rogan $250 million, like who's to say somebody wouldn't pay him and Travis each like $100 million?
Right. Oh, I think he's going to make
$150 million. Like, I don't know if Joe's show draws an insane audience, and theirs does too. But I mean, they, 150 million each of them. Like, I don't think that's out of the realm of possibility, and I'd certainly rather do that than call a bunch of football games.
Then you do the unthinkable, and you bring Taylor in and have Taylor do a podcast on your podcast network, and then everybody makes $500 million a year podcasting.
Yeah,
I think he's going to make more doing whatever is next than he did playing.
Well,
football.
Sure. I mean, if he wants to go down the broadcasting route with his personality, and if he is good at it, like he could be in the Romo Tom Brady contract world. I mean, I don't think Brady's ever gonna. I'm not convinced Brady's ever gonna call a game. But he has a contract that's paying him $50 million a year to do it.
Yeah.
So why? I mean, if Jason wants to, and if he's good at it, why couldn't he get $25 million or something like that to call a game?
Yeah. It's going to be very interesting. I will say the one thing that's probably the most shocking thing about his career for me is that he was better at the end. That doesn't happen to offensive linemen. Like, he played his best football in like years 11, 12, 13.
Well, the year they won the Super Bowl, he was outstanding. The year they lost to the Chiefs 2 years ago, he was outstanding. I mean, I think he had some injuries here and
He was
there
still
in the later years, but his play didn't diminish. His body started to break down more, but it wasn't like oh, this guy was really good, and he, that plus 30 clip that everybody talks about, and why the Bengals don't really like to sign free agents over 30 is like you just don't know when you're going to go from good to just like, oh man, this dude is just done. And I don't think he really ever had that. I think it was more just 3 kids and the accumulation of the wear and tear, and like if you're going to be committed, you got to be committed all the way. And I think he was probably at the point where he's like, I'm not committed to doing it the way I need to do it and the way that I know how to do it, or I know I have to do it. Because I mean, we all saw in the documentary, like, hard to walk, hard to stand up after you sit down, and there comes a point where you're just probably like, yeah, I'm not interested in having to have those issues much longer.
He was the highest graded center on PFF this year 13.
Doesn't surprise me. I mean,
well, and the other thing though is, Dave, that retirement decision, like 3 years ago, he was making a different decision, right? Like I'm sure there were people that he would have had a pretty easy entry into a broadcasting career or a studio career or whatever at that point. But he wasn't in a position where he was going to make anything close to $15 million doing that 3 years ago.
No.
And now leaving $15 million on the table, you might be giving yourself a raise. So
I mean, I think I don't know because I'm not an Eagles fan, so I don't follow them. But I feel like Philadelphia knew him.
Yeah.
Everybody else didn't until they won the Super Bowl, and he did them, and they had the
right.
Well, even before the Mummers thing, it was the dog masks and the fat Batman, and so like people started to kind of know who he was, and then they win the Super Bowl, and then he does the Mummers thing, and then it kind of became like certainly not like a caricature, but just like an introduction to everybody outside of Philadelphia that was like, oh, this dude has like personality and is a really good I know him because where you see people, but like football people knew him because he's a really good football player. Everybody else started to know him because he's a really good football player, and there's a lot more to him as a guy, and that's I think where this whole thing has kind of taken off for him.
Exactly. And then, there's the other thing where the podcast went from the number one sports podcast in the world to the number one podcast in the world because Travis got a new girlfriend. And the popularity of the guy is now far, far bigger than football. Because he probably is like the ideal, storybook, what every woman actually says they want as a husband, right?
Mm-hmm.
He's big, he's burly, he's gruff, but he's emotional and he's talented and funny and really rich. And his popularity is unbelievable at this stage.
Rachel and I were laughing the other night talking about the retirement, just how, and it's not necessarily a rare thing to have brothers that are pretty, dissimilar, but like, it's just funny to me how him and Travis just really couldn't be any different.
But they're also exactly the same.
Well, from one standpoint, yes, right. But just like, right. And I think that's what makes their podcast like very good is because yes, they're both uber competitive and athletic and football player guys, but like having the conversation between the two of them is very different. Like, right. And they feed off of each other and mess with each other. And and you don't get neither of them really, to me, come across as like the quote unquote typical jock, or like, they can have fun conversations and it's entertaining and engaging, and clearly it's successful, or people wouldn't listen. I mean, I'm sure there's tons of athletes that have tried to have podcasts or YouTube shows or whatever. Like, you don't just this many people wouldn't listen to something just consistently just because like they are like they like the Eagles or something.
Really bad podcast,
right? Like exactly. Like, I don't listen. I'm a Bengals fan. I don't listen to every Bengals podcast just like I'm sure there's Eagles podcasts that people don't listen to that, or just because I'm an Eagles fan doesn't mean I'm going to listen to it if it's not entertaining.
Right. Yeah, I just wanted to touch on that. It's hopefully we'll see him around more.
Yeah, we got to get him on the show now.
We're working on it.
Maybe we can get to the spring game.
There's I don't know. Yeah.
That'd be cool.
Let's let's do a quick ad read here with Team Ticker as we get ready to talk some spring football. Team Ticker is the one-of-a-kind sports sign for Bearcat fans. Its high-tech retro display provides daily updates on the latest news, stats, schedules, and much more. No subscription required. If you're looking for the perfect addition to your man cave, your dorm room, your apartment on campus, or a gift for that special Bearcat fan, go to teamticker.com. Pick up your Team Ticker today. If you get one now, Aaron's got the Bearcat. I got the Sea Paw. If you're looking today, go to teamticker.com and get 50% off by using promo code BCJ. Also, remember they now have Penn State, Michigan State, and West Virginia. Dave, it's week one in the books. Yeah. It's a wrap on week one today.
Don't everybody rush into the live room too quickly here now, guys.
Well, Thursdays, I think Thursdays mess us up.
Oh, I'm just giving everybody a hard time.
Partially my fault because earlier in the week, I thought Kelly's birthday was yesterday because the leap year threw off my.
So did I, based on calendar. Your social media posts.
And then it was today. Well, I figured that out.
Yeah, but you still went to the spring volleyball game last night. So
we did. They played great, Dave.
Good.
Kentucky is considered one of the premier volleyball programs in the country. They played 4 sets. Cincinnati won 2 of them, and they were right there in the other 2. So Molly Alvey, my girl, getting the volleyball program on solid ground. They were fun to watch last night, and
cool.
I didn't get home till 10:30, so we definitely weren't starting the podcast at 10:30.
I think I was probably asleep by the time you got home.
Yeah. So let's talk some Team Ticker football, Dave.
Yeah.
As the Bearcats are on the field, and year 2 of the Scott Satterfield era is underway. Anything that you would like to get to?
Of course. I don't want you to say anybody's name in this because I have my next question. We'll get into that. But I knew Marcus would jump on here once we started talking football. Just initial thoughts. Like, what if I said you can't tell me about any particular player, what has been the thing that has jumped out to you the most 3 days in, obviously with the understanding that a lot of install, no pads, like
a lot of base.
Right. I mean,
especially
we're learning a brand new defense with 30-something new guys. Like we're not talking like 400 level stuff right now. But knowing that, what has caught your eye, what has good or bad, what has made you go, that's interesting, just kind of along those lines.
I really like the look of the new secondary. There's more length, there's more athleticism. It seems like they brought in a couple guys that are really gonna make an impact, and that was obviously maybe the biggest concern. Um, I thought last year they just looked short and squatty too much, like especially now that you're starting to see a lot of these dudes are in that 6'1" to 6'3" range, long arms. I've been impressed with the overhaul there. I think that stands out more than anything. I think there's more talent also at wide receiver than there was a year ago. And an array of talent that you hope can do different things that can, aren't just all the same.
Well, yeah, a little bit of everything.
I think that's important. We still haven't. Evan is still recovering from getting a shoulder cleaned up in the off season, so we haven't even seen him yet. But the talent on the outside. And obviously, guess what? There's no pads. So the first 3 days, you know what we're watching? Watching the outside, because that's where the action is really over these first 3 days. So I really like the overhaul to the secondary, and then the year 2 improvements to the wide receiver room. They did have the spider pads on today, so there was a little bit more contact. Maybe the best hit I've seen at practice in quite a while today.
Yeah.
As Corey Kiner went to hit a hole in the middle of the defense, and Simeon Coleman, your guy, said, "Sit down, sir," and knocked him on his ass. And the entire practice kind of was like, everybody kind of lost their shit. Like, ooh, the true freshman came up and laid the wood in the gap. So that was good.
I like it.
I mentioned a name there. Sorry.
That's fine. I mean, I understand, but
I know. But I like the way practices run the first 3 days. It's very basic. You're not seeing, like you said, you're not even seeing any level like 300 stuff. You might not see a lot of level 200 stuff right now.
No, it's install, and you gotta get good at the easy stuff before you can start working on the hard stuff.
Yeah, and I mean the offense is a little bit farther along, obviously, than the defense right now, which isn't how things normally go, but your offense is mostly returning and your defense is mostly new.
Yeah.
So that's the defense had a really good day today, or a better day today, where it felt like, you're starting to see the defense kind of catch up with the speed of things.
Yeah.
But look, I mean, are they ready to walk on the field and look like Oklahoma? No.
Well, no. I don't know if that's going to be the case come September.
No, but I talked to Sad about it Monday. Like it's a 3-year process to go from where they were to really truly build up what the foundation of the program looks like to where they look like a legit Big 12 team. But I think they're well on their way to moving in that direction. So, I thought it was a good opening 3 days.
All right. So let's do this then. I want you to highlight. I'm going to break it up into kind of groups. Give me a couple returning guys on offense and defense, a couple transfers on offense and defense, and then I was going to say like freshmen, but there's really not that many of them, so I'll lump them into, I mean, there are, but like they don't need their own category. I'll lump them in with just new guys. So like returning players who's kind of stood out as far as maybe building on last year, or man, this guy might was a young guy, didn't really see much of him, and now he's looking like he might be a contributor. I have one in mind. And then the same thing for the transfers.
I'll go defense, returning guy, but like maybe not what people think of as a returning guy. As a redshirt freshman that didn't see a whole lot of action last year. Jaden Davis is kind of.
That was who I was gonna. That's been my guy since last year.
He had 2 interceptions yesterday, including one that was a pick six that ended practice, and then today in 11-on-11, he made a really nice play. Like breaking up a pass over towards the sideline. So I went up and I was asking somebody like, where does he stand in this pecking order? And as I was saying that, he got a second pick six to end practice in 2 days. So how do you get on the radar, Dave? You make plays. Yep. And then if you make plays, you start moving up. With all the guys that they brought in at safety, I don't know how much we will see him this year, but if he keeps stacking good days,
beat him out.
We're going to see him some, because guess what? There's now 3 safeties.
Right.
And you gotta get dudes in there. So he has been impressive. Returners on offense.
I know that's probably harder just because we kind of know what those guys are.
Yeah, I mean, Xavier Henderson has been really good. I think having a quarterback that's a little more versatile when it comes to the route tree is showing you a little bit more with him. Barry Jackson has been solid. We haven't seen any pass rush yet, so it's difficult to say on the offensive line.
Right.
Lichty's had some moments. He's looked good. He hasn't looked as good as the other guy yet, but he's looked good. Joey Belgian.
Yeah.
We've seen quite a bit, which we didn't get to see him last year. And it's funny, I was talking to somebody about Belgian, and there's the conversation that like, well, he didn't put up big numbers at Western Kentucky. Well, guess what? He played tight end in the air raid. And the only time the air raid ever actually like really uses a tight end is in the red zone. What did he do in the red zone?
Yeah, caught touchdowns.
Right. So I wouldn't look at Belgian and really put a lot of emphasis on the numbers at Western Kentucky, just because it's, that offense. I don't know why you would go to an air raid school if you were a tight end, honestly. And he still found a way to be productive. So you add him with Joe Royer, who has looked really good. Maybe that tight end room can bounce back and have a big year. Did you see the video of Sorsby's touchdown to Royer?
Did.
That's an easy throwing motion, ain't it?
It certainly is. Yeah, I mean, I don't think they don't need the tight end room to necessarily be dynamic, but it has to be more than an outlet. Well, just an outlet or that little like slip play. Like you have, like, I know we talked about it last year. Jeff and I talked about it on the brunch. Like, I know it was a big issue, and like they have to be able to threaten the field or threaten the middle of the field way more than they did last year. And I'm hoping that, having Belgian, having Royer, having Peyton Singletary, we'll see what the 2 freshmen can potentially contribute, and having a quarterback who I feel like I'm not stepping out of bounds and saying that he can see the full field and the full field reads and progressions at a higher level than Emory did. My hope is that becomes more of a focal point in the offense. I mean, they didn't really have any substantial success that I can think of throwing the ball over the middle. And so at some point, we can, I'm sure fans, I'm sure myself got frustrated with why aren't we throwing it over the middle? And I'm guessing that if we had asked Scott, he would have gone, have you seen us try to throw it over the middle?
Right.
So why would I keep calling plays that we are not executing?
It's I have seen more throws over the middle in practice than most of last year already. Now again,
right.
What does that look like when there's actually, guys out there looking to hit people? As opposed to, just kind of running around and playing two-hand touch. But I mean, that's the thing that's probably been the most impressive with Sorsby. And I could easily just say the deep ball that he throws because it is pretty. But most every throw I've seen him make back shoulders. I've seen him make throws over the middle. I've seen him hit stop routes. I've seen him hit double moves. So, you're just looking at the way the ball comes out of his hand right now and the confidence with which he delivers it. And it looks different. It doesn't look the same.
Right.
So that part, step one is a positive. So transfer, I'll go with Sorsby. There you go.
Anybody, we said Jaden Davis. Anybody else defensively from the returning guys?
We haven't really, you can't judge the D line.
Right. Yet. It's tough to. I mean, it would probably be any of the DBs because you're not rushing the passer and you're not tackling. So that's a hard one to to really dig deep on defenders.
I mean, Jordan Young's made some plays over at his corner, the number one corner spot. Safety, man, it's almost all new guys.
Right.
I mean, you get 5 or 6 deep before you get to a returning guy at safety.
Yeah.
I mean, Minkins fits in there. Well, I think they list. DJ Taylor. We haven't seen a ton of DJ Taylor. You got Kai Stokes. They list them all as DBs, so it makes it a little difficult going on the Go Bearcats roster when you sort them. Logan Wilson has looked pretty good. Mekhi Miller, I like. I think you're going to see quite a bit of him. Derek Canteen has looked pretty good. Gravy is. I'm very high on the Gravy, Dave.
Can I say you're on the Gravy train?
You could. I already talked to Dan Horde. Like, if he makes it to the NFL, there's an easy, you just call him Sunday Gravy.
That's right.
But Saturday Gravy, I don't think works.
No,
Nona doesn't make Saturday gravy. She makes Sunday gravy.
Right.
So he's going to have to wait for the NFL for that. But the good news is at 6'2", 175, 180 with long arms, he got a chance at least. Somebody agreed with me today at practice. Jaquan Sanks looks like he's fresh off the assembly line at the football factory.
Yeah.
I mean, his quads and calves, we're going to have to keep Aaron away from him. Aaron's a big leg guy. He reminds me of James Wiggins, like his lower body when James kind of got here. And somebody was like, well, Wiggins was bigger, right? And I'm like, no, Wiggins was probably smaller. Like James was only 5'10", something like that. But he is a powerful young dude. Just looking up and down the roster at the DBs to make sure nobody slips my mind. They do have a DB they put in 87, Dave. You got to feel pretty bad about yourself if they do that, don't you?
I mean, yeah, probably not it's what is it like spring training when you're like a
Right.
position player and your numbers in like the 90s.
Right. You're 84. Number 84 at second base, Tom Johnson.
Your outlook for making the roster isn't high.
Offensively, speaking of Tom Johnson, his brother Tony, I like a lot.
His brother Tony.
His brother Tony, I like a lot. He good hands, good route running. Looks like he's got some toughness to him. I am a big fan of what I've seen so far out of Tony Johnson.
That would be a big help. I mean, I think they were pretty one-sided receiver-wise last year. Let's since you mentioned him, let's flip to the transfers. I know that's probably what a lot of people want to hear about just because they are new and there are a lot of them, and especially on defense, we're going to be counting on them to help out quite a bit. So again, through 3 days, what's been your biggest takeaway on who's caught your eye so far?
Well, if we're doing the eye test, Micah Coleman gets an A+.
He's a big dude.
Big, strong, long arms. Like, again, another one of those dudes that looks like they're out of central casting. So he jumps off the page. Bartlett looks very good. Interesting that he's at middle linebacker.
Yeah, talk to us a little bit more about that. That certainly surprised me.
It surprised me too. I saw his number out there with the linebackers, and I looked at the person standing next to me. I'm like, I thought he and like, well, we like Coleman, so we want to make sure if those are two guys that we think are top of the roster defensive players,
figure out a way to get them both on the field.
Exactly. And I think that's a bit of what that is I
guess I would have just assumed they would have both been on the field as ends.
With 3 down linemen, you don't have the luxury really of playing 2 like specific pass rush guys every down.
Yeah.
You need a bigger run stopping guy at one of them. So I think they're looking at, from my understanding, they want to use him as a pressure guy from the second level as opposed to trying to like squeeze him and Coleman into one spot.
And this is 3 days into spring practice. This is the time when you experiment on those things. So by no means is this a formality, but it's just interesting that that's what he, and given the fact that they were pretty anemic at getting at the quarterback last year, if they feel like that's a way to get your best pressure guys on the field at the same time, but if he can also be able to stop the run, I guess, what does that do then to if he, I don't know what teams wise, but like with Dingle and Thompson and Dorian Jones, like how is that all fitting together with him then added in that spot?
I think we'll have a better feel for that as we get into next or not. Spring break is next week, so there's not practice next week. They're off, and then when they come back, then I hope we'll get a little bit better idea. From what I'm told right now, at least, Dave, through the first this week, and then when they return, they're kind of rotating in positional cycles.
Mm-hmm.
Like these guys at linebacker are playing together. These DBs are playing together, and they don't always match.
Right.
So, like, you think you're looking at ones, and you look who's out there, and you're like,
yeah, you could have the ones secondary with the twos linebackers and something like that. Yeah,
and there's been quite a bit of that. And then, from what I was told, after they get through that second week, I believe there's a scrimmage at the end of the second week, and then when you come back for week 3, you start to get a little bit more focused on who's your ones, who's your twos.
with so many new players, I don't hate that idea because, while yes, you want to get, see who does the best just individually, you also have to make an effort to build some level of continuity
Sure.
and some level of trust. Like, you can't just constantly be rotating different guys in with each other because you're building no trust that these two safeties are consistently playing together, these three safeties now, and they're starting to learn the tendencies of the guys next to them and how they read plays and what so. And now maybe in a couple of weeks, then you'll start being like, okay, of the collective, this group is elevating, so now we need to put them all together and see how they work together.
Or like
One guy might be with the twos right now, and two guys might be with the threes, but the guy with the twos is playing really well. So let's elevate him a little bit and see how they mesh together. And so again, spring ball, a lot of moving parts. Nothing should really be. I mean, unless there's something drastically on each end of the spectrum, like I'm not going to take a ton from it, like the mixing and matching and who's playing what and where and when. But because you have so many new pieces, you have to figure out a lot before you can truly dig into kind of that. Who are our ones? Who are our twos? Who's our main situational guys? Like, who can we count on? Like, they couldn't really count on much of anything defensively last year. So you have to start there before you can even think about the next steps.
For sure. I mean, I think you had a point where, like, from what I can tell, like, Derek Canteen, Logan Wilson, Minkins, and Stokes. Like, those guys are in that first group at like safety, like to figure out exactly what the safety position looks like. I had a good talk with Nate Fuqua today, Dave.
Yeah.
About so he is now coaching the middle safety.
Yeah.
And I didn't really know what that position
actually means.
What that position entails. And it was good to talk to him about it because he coached the star linebacker position last year.
Mm-hmm.
And now they're using the same name and putting that player instead of like a nickel linebacker. Now it's a safety, and not even necessarily, it's not a nickel safety. Like, I don't know how much that guy's going to come and guard the slot, but he said that position is basically taking a lot of the principles of that star linebacker in the old defense and moving him to the middle of the field and calling it a star safety, where he's going to have zone responsibilities. He's going to have responsibilities deep down the middle, but he's also going to have box safety responsibilities. And
so, like,
be a guy that's
he's middle, so he's between the tackles, I guess, between the slots.
I mean, I don't know that,
like on the hashes.
No, he's in the middle of the field. He's so basically
is it almost like
it's a 3-3-3 almost.
I was going to say, is it almost like a 3-3-1-4? Is that math right? I don't even know.
No, it's the way it looks, and obviously, again, this is base.
Yeah.
So we're not seeing any of the wrinkles or anything that what Tyson Bites defense will ultimately look like on Saturdays. But essentially, like, your defensive ends, your outside linebackers, and your outside safeties are all pretty much stacked on each other. Line of scrimmage, 7 yards, 15 yards, like, what, just using that as an example. So it looks like a 3-3-3, like a 9-man stack in the middle of the field. And then your corners obviously are out wide on your wide receivers. I'm certain as we get back from spring break and we get into that third week, I'm guessing you'll start to see a lot of, the introduction of different alignments and the way that each single guy is used. But my understanding from talking to Nick, from Coach Fuqua, was they are gonna, it's essentially taking that outside linebacker, hybrid linebacker from the old system, and making him more of a jack of all trades safety. That, they said a lot of it is optics more than anything, because having that extra safety back there not only makes quarterbacks uncomfortable, because it's not something they see all the time, but it makes wide receivers really uncomfortable. I mean, that's Jim Kelly and I were talking about that, and he's like, dude, I would hate. He didn't say dude. I did. As a wide receiver, you don't want to be uncertain of where that safety that's going to take your head off is located.
Well, I mean, in your mind, you're used to, okay, when I get to this point and I go here, I'm clear. And then now you're not, that's not necessarily the case.
Yeah, and I also think, Dave, it's just throughout most of the history of football, there's been two safeties.
Right, that's what I mean. Like, if I make an in-breaking route and I know the safeties are deep, and I make an in cut on my guy and he's behind me and that guy's deep of me, I'm not thinking that like someone's about to come directly into there could be someone coming directly into my face.
Right. So I think that's part of the fun of it. And it from talking to people, the reason that Iowa State was so successful with it is because it allows you to mask some of your vulnerabilities, because everybody's in kind of that tight grouping, and they're not able to spread you out as much as a normal defense is spread out. So
it'd be interesting to like truly. I mean, I'm not going to. I don't have the time. I don't even know how I would find it out. But like looking at over these last several years, like big plays that Iowa State's given up outside versus like inside the numbers.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like it would be a hard defense, whether it's on a run or a pass, to create a big play inside the numbers.
Yeah, because there should be a lot of bodies there.
Yeah, whether that's over the top, down the middle, or on a short play that turns into a catch and run. Like it feels like that would be a much harder thing to get done with this type of defense.
Yeah, I mean, that's how it looks so far. Although Mr. Sorsby has had quite a bit of success just going straight over the top. And guess what? When your guy is running full speed at wide receiver and 45 yards down the field, all he has to do is this. It makes life a hell of a lot easier.
Yeah. But we'll certainly get a better idea when and find out where the tackles are compared to last year.
Right. Well, I'm just talking about in general, like,
yeah, for sure.
They have been able to stretch that defense because Sorsby's throwing great balls. That helps substantially.
I mean, obviously we know what Corey Kiner is. What have been your thoughts so far on the other backs, be it
Pryor,
Evan Pryor, Deuce Williams, and Manny Covey, and then I think that's all the scholarship guys right now, right?
Yeah.
What
Pryor is no, that's it for now.
Yeah.
Pryor is very smooth, like just in and out of his cuts. It is clear watching him why he was highly rated coming out of high school in terms of his physical gifts. Now, until there is at least thudding or some semblance of like, look what it looks like when you're live.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to,
sure,
speak out of turn, but he looks smooth. He looks like he shifts in and out of gear like a sports car. He does not look like he shifts in and out of gear like a Ford Focus. Like watching him jump cut and then accelerate, you're like, oh, okay. Didn't have a lot of those guys on the roster since Jerome Ford left. So overall, I have been impressed with him. Williams, fast. I mean, he's got that, stick your foot in the dirt, make one cut, and all of a sudden people are watching you run.
Yeah.
I haven't seen a ton of them out of the backfield yet either. So I don't have and the stuff they are catching out of the backfield, it's like very basic. There's not a lot of pressure on them, So we'll know there. But I like the way both of them have looked in the limited opportunity to see like exactly what they are to this point.
Mm-hmm. Trying to think. I mean, I know it makes it difficult. Okay, well, I will say, like, have any of the true freshmen early enrollees, any of them shown you just made any plays? Or obviously we already talked about Simeon Coleman, but I mean, again, they're probably not getting a ton of reps. They're very green. They're a lot of learning, so probably hard to do any of that.
I've got quite a bit on a couple of these guys. Samaj Jones has a monster of an arm.
Yeah.
He also overthrew 5 50-yard touchdown passes on Monday. So he's going to have to learn how to
put a little touch on it.
Yeah, he's going to have to learn how to finesse things a little bit.
Hey, the receivers just got to get faster and go catch it.
Or he waits one extra beat before he rockets it 60 yards down the field.
I imagine that's a tough deal for a kid that should be in high school to come in and throw the ball to dudes that are so far above and beyond what he's used to throwing to. So, what is that?
That is Team Ticker.
Oh, we got a ladies basketball game.
Ladies basketball game is getting ready to start. So every time the Bearcats are about to play, you get the fight song.
That would drive me nuts.
It's long, Dave. It's a long fight song. Oh, we got to do it again. TeamTicker.com. Promo code BCJ and get $50 off your purchase. There we go.
Yes, as I was saying, it's probably quite a adjustment to throw to experienced college wide receivers versus 15, 16, and 17-year-old high school kids.
Yeah. I'll go in order of number here outside of Samaj because he's had a good couple days. He just gotta learn to put the restrictor plate on it from time to time. Jaquan Sanks, I mentioned, physically unbelievable frame, and from talking to Nico and some of the people around the program, really, really good kid that they are very, very high on.
Yeah.
He looks the part, boy. The reason he's here probably is because he's 5'11", because he was 6'1". With the physical attributes that he had, he probably would be somewhere in the SEC with a sizable NIL contract behind his name. So he's been impressive. Gravy, like I talked about, has been solid. Haven't seen him a ton really in that, true like corner role yet. They're kind of moving him around. But I like what I see physically from him, which is, for a corner, a 6'2", 190, 180-pound corner, whatever he's listed at. He's listed at 6'2", 175. He has all the physical attributes that you want in a freshman.
Yeah.
Have been really impressed with Cale Woodburn. He does need 20 pounds desperately.
Yeah.
But he's fast, boy.
Oh, yeah.
Day one, there were a couple times he was like 5 yards behind the defense, where I don't think they anticipated his speed. Like, oh, probably in your mind, you're like, you got freshmen out here.
Yeah.
I got him under control.
Yeah, he's
just ripping by you.
He's shown some wheels.
I mean, and it is downfield, take the lid off, like straight line, hit the gas. So he has been impressive. Your guy Dakari Anderson has made some good plays.
Not surprised.
The interesting thing is he is more of a it's interesting watching him and Woodburn because they're two, while they have kind of the same physical profile.
Yeah.
Smaller, fast, like Dakari is more short area, jet sweep, get him out on a little dig route or make something happen across the middle of the slot.
7-yard curl route makes the guy miss, turns it into 17 real easy, whereas Cale just runs by you.
Right. So they're two different guys, even though Cale's 5'10", 165, Dakari's 5'8", 190. And Dakari's pretty well put. He looks like a running back, kind of. But those two guys have been impressive. And then Simeon Coleman, yes, sir.
Yeah.
He's small, but 5'11", 230, 6 foot 230, right where he's listed. And like Keegan wrote about today, and like I said earlier, he laid the wood to Corey Kiner. And Corey Kiner, Dave, is not a dude you just hit.
No.
He usually absorbs that pretty well.
For sure.
Coleman was one you liked on the camp, or not the camp circuit, but like the All-Star circuit too, right?
Yeah, he played in the Under Armour game. I watched a couple, I think at least one of his actual high school games. Or no, with Monte Whedon was the one that I saw his high school game, I think on ESPN or something. And then Coleman played in the Under Armour game, I think. I don't know. I'm probably saying that wrong, but it was several months ago. But yeah, they were both.
I think Coleman was in the All-Star game, and Whedon was the game that was on.
Yeah,
ESPN2 or whatever.
Mm-hmm. So, but
yeah, those are. It's a group with physical gifts. They have not been a group that has come in and your eyes don't really stop on them. And that's happened in the past. You have to there are times when you're going to do something and evaluate freshmen where you have to okay, what number is he? And I'm going to watch him for a little while.
Mm-hmm.
And then there are guys where your eyes are just drawn to them and you're looking at who is 18? Why is 18 faster than everybody on the field? Oh, that's Cale Woodburn. And then it happens again. And then they're doing themselves a service there, Dave, because after, the second time, by the third time, I'm generally okay, 18's Cale Woodburn. I'm going to watch him because he's running past people. So,
yeah, I'm going to be very interested when we get to the summer and to the fall. My biggest, I guess not my biggest thing, but I really, really liked the defensive back group that they brought in the high school class. You've already mentioned Sanks. You've already mentioned Gravy. Then they'll add Quavo Sabor. They'll add Willie Godwin.
Willie's here,
even,
I think.
Oh, he is? Okay.
He just hasn't.
There's at least two or three more guys coming. They added a lot of defensive back. My point being, though, it would be great if the transfers can be good enough this year to allow those guys to not, because really, there's, like you said, like the depth chart right now is all transfers at the safety possession, especially.
Well, and I mean, honestly, you're talking Jordan Young at one corner, and at the other corner, I mean, for the most part, it's been Ormani Arnold.
Oh, Armani Arnold. Okay. But like, ideally those guys don't have to play defense this year unless they're really, really, really good and they can play some special teams and get their feet wet, because you were able to kind of stem the tide, so to speak, in the secondary with experienced transfers versus like where we were last year, where it was like, basically walk on. Antoine Peak Jr. gave his all, but like he's a walk on. And they didn't really have, guys got hurt, guys didn't perform, whether it was corner, safety, whatever. So it'd be very, very beneficial if like these young guys don't have to play.
Or if they do play, it's what we've seen has been the formula for young, especially defensive backs, where you work your way in on special teams.
I just mean getting
no. I'm saying like you work your way in on special teams, and then guess what happens, Dave? When you start to work your way on special teams, you know what generally happens pretty quick? You find yourself on the 2 deep.
Yeah.
Because we can trust this guy on special teams. If we can trust him on special teams, let's see how much we can trust him at safety, or let's see how much we can trust him at corner. So I'm fascinated as we get into that week 3, like who solidifies, like who is at that star position? Who are the outside safeties? Because right now I think they're giving everybody a little bit of I'm sure they have an idea of who they want where, but these first couple weeks, why not?
You just don't want to miss something. You don't want to be like, because you might never know. You're like, man, if we'd have only tried this guy there, maybe he would have taken to it immediately, and this is the time to try. Because if it doesn't work, you're really not hurting anything.
Yeah, you're not out anything.
You're not. It's not like you wasted time in the fall or whatever. I mean, your goal needs to be at this point in spring is like try everybody everywhere and find where they maybe fit the best, and then work on developing them in that particular position.
Yeah. So, there you go.
I wish spring break was in 2 weeks, not this coming week, because that would have helped me out personally.
I'll go let the university know that the kids are actually on campus next week, and spring break has been moved back a week because it was inconvenient for Dave.
Yes.
I got you.
Now I'll be missing the scrimmage. Which I'm not that tore up about, given what I'll be doing.
Sure. I don't think you'll think about it once.
No, I won't, because listen to this deal as we probably transition. Reserve seating in the sports book. Open bar, $67.
Good God. Do you have to pay for your food, or you just have to gamble?
I don't know. I don't think we have to do anything. We just go watch games and drink drinks, and it costs $67 for a reserved seat.
You're gonna drink like on Vegas prices. You're gonna drink $1,000 worth of drinks.
Oh, they're definitely going to lose money on me and my brother doing that. Sitting there from 9 a.m. till about, I don't know what games will start. The last games will start at 7 something local, so 9 a.m. until about 10 p.m. Yeah,
it's rough.
With some trips to the blackjack table in between.
Are we in the quiet window? Yeah, we got an hour. All right, blackjack.
Yeah, no games right now.
Yeah. Oh, there's only 3 games on and they stink. All right, we'll be back. Save our spot. Well, you bought the table, right? For the day. How long? That 67 gets you the whole day?
All day.
Don't they know who they're dealing with?
I mean, it's Reno. It's
Yeah.
not. We're not talking. Vegas. You probably couldn't even get that in Vegas. You'd probably have to have some level.
It'd be $1,000,
or be have players, some sort of player status level. Wouldn't even be able to buy it. So,
any more spring football questions, David?
I mean, I don't know. We talked about it for almost an hour. That's 3 practices. What you guys have talked to Coach Veit. You talked to
Coach Dawkins. We talked
Coach
to Sat.
Dawkins.
So those are the 3 coaches we've
Just
gotten.
your overall impression of the coaches in year 2. Just
we got the 2 new guys. I mean, Coach Veit. We had a press conference. He was here talking some ball. He's apparently a big fan of the BCJ now because we've caught up in 2 of the 3 practices after practice.
Nice.
He was, I think he was still surprised that I'm allowed to be there every day because he's brought that up both times that I've seen him. Every day. I'm like, yeah, coach, every day. I will be here every day. It seems like they fit in pretty well. Like it seems like there's similar personality types. It doesn't seem like there's much worry about a clash of like old guard, new guard. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Which you could, especially like, Satterfield's got a lot of his guys that he's been around for a long time. And you bring somebody new into a leadership position that's not from that tree, it could not work. But ironically enough, I think these guys are all smart enough to go, wait a second. This guy helped orchestrate like the most sustainable defense in the Big 12 over the past decade.
Mm-hmm.
Because defense hasn't exactly been sustainable in this league for anybody else.
No, there's been groups here and there, but certainly not.
It hasn't been sustainable. Iowa State has been really good on defense for a decade.
Over a full recruiting cycle plus and stuff like that.
Right. So I think everybody is open to like, this is something new for us. I don't think there's not many teams that run this Iowa State variant of the 3-3-5. I mean, it's technically like you can call it a 3-3-5. It's just a different spin on the 3-3-5. So, maybe it's a good thing to kind of re-energize everybody with like, let's all learn this new, really effective defense that has done a great job in this league. So, Dawkins, I mean, he got here like this week, right? So, but he seems like he's, running back coaches are typically pretty stand-on business guys. Like they know their job is very simple. Don't let your guys fumble, and when there's a gap, they better hit it and get up the field.
Run through.
Yeah. So, I actually also though I did that first part of the Dawkins interview, and then I saw Fuqua, and I had some questions about the defense. So I was only there for half of that, if we're being honest. But that was all in the necessity to get you guys as much information as possible.
Well, you were there for the important half, I assume.
The first half.
Yeah.
I asked a couple questions, and then I don't understand this. I'm getting there. But why am I getting there? Because when I see Coach Veit, I ask him about it. When I see Nate Fuqua and I hear he's coaching the star or the middle safety, I want to know what the hell that means. Because if I don't know, the odds are pretty good you don't know. And if the two of us don't know, how are we supposed to talk about it to the people, Dave?
Right.
So I feel like I'm at least semi-educated on that spot now. And I'm fascinated to see, like, why is it so successful?
Mm-hmm.
Why is it just as simple as instead of playing a 3 down lineman, 3 linebacker with like an extra hybrid linebacker on the outside, why is it so different if you make that extra hybrid guy in the middle of the field instead of on the outside of the formation? So I'm fascinated to learn more about it because we are still in an era where everybody's trying to figure out what's next in stopping the passing game, stopping these spread wide open offenses that control the game because they can beat you over the top, they can beat you underneath. Why has this defense been so different in a league that it shouldn't have sustained success at a place like Iowa State where they've recruited well, but it's not like they've got the best athletes in the league?
No.
I don't know. I aside from Veit and Dawkins, like I'm that part of it, that's the newest part of all of this.
Mm-hmm.
So to me, it's like getting a crash course in.
Yeah, I mean, I feel the same way. If I was able to be there, the vast majority of my attention would be on defense, just because of the newness of so much of it.
Well, but Dave, the main thing is it's not okay. Like if we're gonna play a 3-3-5, and our hybrid position is basically going to be the nickel. That's not a new defense.
No.
That's just putting a different body in a spot that we're already familiar with.
Yeah.
That's putting essentially it's putting a corner safety hybrid spot and turning it into a linebacker safety hybrid spot. And now you're taking that and moving it to the middle of the field. I love the chess match of it. I love the thought process behind even coming up with that is like a revolutionary, even though it's not revolutionary, it's fairly simple. You just took this guy and you moved him here.
Yeah.
I don't know. I want to get to know more about it because I think it's interesting.
Mm-hmm.
And the more we get to know about it, the more you guys get to know about it.
That's right.
So you know what you're watching. But other than that, no, I don't have a whole lot else on spring ball at the moment. I'd rather if we keep talking about football, but that brings us to the first Turtles Brew timestamp of the night.
Need some Turtles Brew for this next part.
Oh. 0 sugar, 0 carbs, gluten-free, 6% ABV, bourbon-infused sweet tea. They've got lemonade tea, cherry lime, raspberry peach, orange vanilla, strawberry mint. There's over 100 locations in the state of Ohio. They are expanding pretty much everywhere around the state. And if you want more information or a location nearest you, visit turtlesbrew.com. A portion of the proceeds go to Save the Sea Turtles. All right. Well, you want to get out of here?
Yeah, I'm cool. Yeah. Another add it to the list.
I don't know what different. I thought we had as good a conversation on basketball as we've ever had last week.
I wouldn't disagree. So what are we supposed to say tonight?
I don't know that there's anything different to say. Like, they are who we thought they were. Like they are an inconsistent team.
Tell them, Denny Green.
That will. Well, we didn't let them off the hook.
No,
They
we
are
did. We
on
did
the
let
hook.
him. We did let him off.
We
the
let
hook.
Oklahoma
off the hook.
Yeah. They're close, but they're just not there. And when you're close, but you're just not there, you can't foul 4 3-point shooters and give the other team 12 fucking points in a 5-minute stretch of the second half.
They made 3 field goals in the last 10 minutes of the game.
2 of them were under a minute. So in a 9-minute stretch, they made 1 field goal.
Ugh.
And went from double digits down to leading.
Yeah.
What would you say to the crowd that was upset with the officiating?
I don't have anything to say to that. I don't care.
I'm right there with you.
I don't care. If we can, if you want to talk about that, talk about it. It does not interest me one bit because it clearly doesn't matter what league you're in. AAC refs sucked. Big 12 refs suck. I'm a Tennessee fan. Last night's Tennessee-South Carolina game could have been played on a Saturday in October. The way that they let literally anything go, which I'm fine with. But the problem I do have is that it does seem that some more times than not, or at least maybe it seems that way in UC games, that not only are the officials inconsistent, they're like diametrically inconsistent from possession to possession or segment to segment. One segment you can literally do whatever you want, and then the next segment you blow on the guy and it's a foul. But speaking to whatever Tuesday night's game specifically, like you and I do this all the time. Don't foul. Every one of those fouls was a foul. Every one.
Yep.
They did not call. Now, did UC get fouled sometimes that they didn't call? Sure.
Yes.
But every single time UC fouled a guy, it was a foul. You have a closeout. Dan closes out like he's just learning how to play basketball. On the second one, he's trailing the guy and basically undercuts him without undercutting him. But I mean, hugged up on him and came underneath him.
Right. It's a foul.
Day and John Newman reach in and instantly pull their hand out like they knew exactly what they were doing, and they called it. And it was like, oh my God, I can't believe they called it. Well, why can't you believe it? Because they grabbed the guy's arm and instantly yanked it back, trying to get away with it. Like,
I think I in Day and in John's defense, I think John thought he was going to just like kind of square up.
Yeah.
And instead, he went right into the shot, which when you square up, you kind of put that hand in to keep him honest. But he hit his arm. And when he hit his arm, the guy went straight into his shot, and it's a foul. It's a foul. Oh,
like,
Dave, this is going to be good. I can't wait.
You get into...
Hold on. Pause.
Oh, what?
Mr. Brendel, Mr. Simone, why doesn't the city of Cincinnati have a March Madness tournament game like the first round or something? Is Riverfront Coliseum that bad or something?
Yes. It is that bad. I don't have to say anything else. It is that bad.
It is. Yeah, it is. No, Dave. Actually, it's not that bad. It's worse.
I mean, considering what arenas are now, yeah, like, I mean, it's essentially for minor league hockey, monster trucks, and some like B-level concerts. C-level concerts.
On ice. Yeah. Like, it's so bad. It's so bad.
Yeah, it is terrible. It is
we were there for the Dayton game.
It is the only spot I know that you can get Deja Blue water, though. So it does have that going for it.
Deja Blue water's not bad. It's kind of tasty. In comparison to the other things that were available for us to drink,
I don't know. I am a 7-Up fan, and they do have like Orange Crush.
I like Orange Crush. They didn't have that in the media section.
Seriously awful.
I mean, it is as bad as an arena can be. In terms of a major market arena, there's nothing worse in America.
No, absolutely not. Nothing. I cannot think
of
a city that has multiple professional sports teams that has
high major college sports programs
that has a worse just arena that doesn't have a I guess you'd call the Cyclones a permanent tenant, but not on a not a pro tenant or anything. But no, it's that bad. So
it's so
if
bad.
Crypt Keeper, if you've never been, just consider yourself lucky.
Don't go.
I mean, I've sat in seats before that literally don't have an armrest. Like, it's just there's just nothing there.
So when I'll pull the curtain back here a little bit, I won't disclose names, but when that Dayton game came up, these are people inside the basketball program that very few of them have a knowledge of.
Right, they've had no reason to go there.
So they're thinking we'll play Dayton in the downtown arena. Like that's Wes was in Greensboro. There's a downtown arena in Greensboro they
used to have the ACC tournament there every year.
Yeah, nice place. So there were people that were just like, well, that's a natural, like that makes sense. And they asked me, and I said, "Are you playing it in Dayton?" They're like, "No, we'll play it downtown."
The most hilarious thing ever about that arena was it's been probably 3 or 4 years now, when the article came out about potentially hosting NCAA tournament games, but it was contingent on a new
tearing
arena.
down the fucking arena.
And everybody was like, "Oh, well, we're obviously never getting NCAA tournament games." I mean, they wanted when UC was trying to decide whether to go downtown or redo the shoe. I mean, they wanted UC to come down there, but literally like said we'll put up like 5% of the money required to
and we maintain full control of the scheduling of the arena.
Right. So we're going to be your primary tenant, but you want us to pay for like pretty much all of this renovation.
Yes. And have no say on first, like, instead of like, okay, we paid for most of this, the conference gets to pick our stuff first, and then you work around that. It was like, no, we will give you the schedule that the dates that you have to work with, even though you paid for the 70, 80, 90% of the renovation. I remember when it might have been one of the shootout, the years that the shootout was down there.
Wait, you mean the showdown?
The crosstown showdown, yeah.
As my wife renamed it, the crosstown shooter hoop.
There was just a rat in front of me walking up the steps. That was like, "What are you doing in my house, bro?"
Yeah,
like you are breaking
here.
You are breaking and entering, sir.
This is not a WWE event. Why are you here? I don't smell diesel gas. Gravedigger is not here. Why are you here?
But like I had to explain to them, like, guess what? Here's what's going to happen. The people from Dayton are going to see this as an opportunity to come downtown, go to the banks, get a hotel.
They also have awesome fans.
Yes, of course. But I'm saying, like, they don't care what that arena is like.
Yeah.
They don't care because they're going to be like, they're coming into town. They're going to make a night of it. It's going to be a thing. Cincinnati fans are going to go, nope, not going there. Don't want to. How much are tickets? Oh, hell no.
Hell no.
Absolutely not.
Yeah.
Like, making a night of it means I got to drive home drunk to Westchester. Like, no. And they were like, that's not true. And I'm like, I mean,
just find out for yourself.
Get back to me when it's over. I'm telling you, it ain't going to look like what you think it's going to look like. And,
but anyway, we digress. But thank you for steering us off course for a little bit. I and Chad both appreciate it because not sure we really, but yeah, I mean, it's the same to me. It's the same stuff, different day, and that's the frustrating part. Is like you get out to an 18-5 lead, and then you turn the ball over on 5 out of the next 6 possessions. And was the 90% shooting going to continue? No. But if you don't turn the ball over 5 out of the next 6 possessions,
you're probably up 28-10.
Where are you when Oklahoma does kind of get their heads out of their you-know-what and starts making some shots and whatever, it's not all of a sudden a 1-point game at halftime. You're still up probably 10 or something.
Right. 7. Let's say 7. You're up 7.
But then again, we're still back to the part of double-digit lead, less than 10 minutes to go or 11 minutes to go or whatever, and you give it away because of just something that is incomprehensible.
That's the frustrating part. Is there's nothing coaching is going to change there. They're not coached to just fly wildly around a double screen as a trailer and crash into the guy. They're coached quite the opposite, actually. They're not coached to like reach in that place where they're reaching in. So I think some of it is this program has lost all of its internal memory on how to play with the lead and how to be like.
I mean, it's a great point because like last night I'm watching the Tennessee game and it's at South Carolina. Dalton Connect does his thing again. And it seems like it's pretty well in hand. And then South Carolina puts a little run on them at the very end to put you in that kind of like, okay, like we got to make our free throws. We got to make our free throws. And not for a second did I think that they were going to find a way to lose the game. Yeah. I was just like, these guys, like, granted, there's some older guys that UC doesn't have.
Well, but like my point being,
it's just a mentality of like they know how to get this done. I'm not worried that they're gonna foul or they're gonna turn the ball over or their best free throw shooter is gonna miss 2 for like. Not worried.
To my point, Rick Barnes has had them solidly as an upper echelon team for what? 8 years now?
Yeah, I mean they blow it in the tournament every year, but
yes, they win a shit ton of games. That they know how to play with the lead. They know how to grind out a win. I don't think these dudes know how to like. None of the what experience do these guys have grinding out wins?
Certainly not. And for as good as we've been rebounding the ball, in a lot of these close losses, we have given up some insane offensive rebounds late in the game where it's like you're a great defensive rebounding team for 38 minutes and then in the last 2 minutes Oklahoma State game and then Tuesday night it's like they just get 2 or 3 offensive rebounds, get second chance points, and there's kind of a swing at that point too.
Well, I think I don't remember the exact number. I think they had something like 15 offensive rebounds for 28 or 29 points. Like their conversion rate was like 2 points an offensive rebound. Like that you can't let it happen. You just can't. You gotta and I think some of that Dan fouls out.
Sure.
That
he had a really good
man. He is such an incredible defensive rebounder. Like he is worth his spot on the roster just for that trait alone.
I mean, he goes and gets it out of his area more than
I don't remember the last guy that really
Gary did.
But not like that. Gary was different.
I don't know, man. Gary went and got a lot of rebounds that were out of his general area. I mean, but he's more of a post player. Dan's more of a wing. So
you didn't see Gary's arm just show up in a mix of 5 people and come down with the ball. But yes, Gary was. I'm saying it just looked different when Gary did it.
Sure, but I mean, you have to.
Gary had some Rodman to him where he just read the ball off the rim.
Oh yeah,
at an elite clip.
Well, his offensive rebound on the missed free throw in the conference championship game the one year, where it's like, how did he even get that? Like, but
Dan just throws his Gumby arm out there and comes back with the ball.
I mean, the only thing I'm taking from this is just, you proved that you were right there. You clearly didn't get it done enough. Can you learn from that? Because you can say that you can, but it's very random. Like, I look at it a lot like turnovers in football. Like, there's no correlation from one year to the next when it comes to turnovers. And I don't think there's a correlation from like close losses or close wins. Like, Fickle won a ton of close games. His first, once they got it going. And I remember because I had a back and forth with Bill Conley, who did SP Plus, because he kept doing the prediction of like lesser wins. And I'd say, like, why are you coming up with this? And he goes, well, they can't just keep winning all these close games. And well, they did. So while you can say it's random and that things flip, that's really just a guess. Like, just saying
it flips. We just don't know the timetable to win.
Well, but I'm saying, like, just like they're losing a bunch of close games this year. There's no guarantee that doesn't continue. I mean, you hope that it doesn't, but like, you can't just say like, oh, well, it'll even itself out. Not necessarily.
Well, you can't just say it's not going to even itself out.
No, but there's no rhyme or reason to it. You can't look at it and go, one way or the other. It's totally random.
Right. It is not a coin flip. It is not 50-50 that's going to even itself out.
I also think it's not I think these moments are now, because they've happened so much, it is in these guys' heads. That, like,
a little.
I'm not saying it's like a clutch thing or whatever, but it's like, or a pee down your leg thing, but it's like, it's human nature, man. You lose close games like this, and then all of a sudden you start fouling, and then this guy fouls, and now all of a sudden it's tied. Like, they haven't made a basket in how long? But how the hell is the game tied?
Right.
But the guy, just mentally it wears on you, and you do get a little tight. I think, like, you do make uncharacteristic plays that you didn't make all game, or that you haven't made in several games, and now all of a sudden, like I said, like, you're giving up defensive rebounds in crunch time that you did a pretty good job or a good job at for the vast majority of the game. So,
it's frustrating. It's frustrating because it like, I like this team. Like, it's an enjoyable team to watch, even with their flaws, because they battle their ass off. Like, they
I think that's what also makes it
more frustrating.
Even more like, kind of what we talked about. I don't know if it was last week or the week before. It'd be easy to just go like, yeah, these guys just aren't ready for this level yet. But that's clearly not the case. So when you say that's not the case, you then need to see the reward. And not me personally, they need to see the reward on the other end of it. Like, you can only be in so many games and come out on the losing end so often, where, it's different if you are, if you're getting beat by 15 or 20 every night. You could very easily explain that, explain the reasoning to that.
Yeah. I go back to, like, they are who we thought they were. Like, I had a long conversation with Mo today on the air. I don't know if you guys
I listened to that.
What was your take on that conversation, which was essentially Mo said yesterday?
I'm in the middle. I see both sides because I feel both sides. Like,
let me set it up. Mo said yesterday that he feels like the team has not improved pretty much at all this season. My take on that was that we saw a football team that didn't improve last year. And what happened? As the season wore on, and the teams, and most stance was, it's March. Your team should get better from November to March. I don't think this team has done that. And I said, look, we saw the football team in the beginning of the season, the games were really close. And it was a turnover here or a missed wide open pass or a third down conversion or a blocked field goal or whatever. But as the season wore on, the football team went from close to it's the third quarter. Can I leave? Do I have to keep watching this?
Yeah.
Right. And that to me was a team that didn't improve because it's measured against the teams you're playing making improvements. And I didn't see that on the football team. The basketball team, they are still right there. They were still right there with Iowa State. They were still right there with Houston, home and away.
For sure.
Yes, the TCU game happened, but guess what? That was a relatively close, like 2 or 3 possession game in the early part of the second half. And then Cincinnati
here's the thing. Houston got blown out by Kansas. Like, you're gonna catch someone.
Right. You're gonna catch a bad night. Right.
That's not the issue to me. The bigger issue to me is, like, I don't agree with, like, the not getting better thing. But my problem is, like, the same things keep popping up.
Yeah, but isn't there at least some realization that that's just the limitation of the talent that's on this team?
Yeah, I mean, in some regards, I think I'd probably over harp on the turnover stuff, like the shooting stuff. Yeah, you're just not like. Someone put something up on Twitter today. I saw they had like 4 different graphs, and it was like Cincinnati excellent at rebounding, pretty much the worst or second to worst team in the 3 other categories that all had to do with like offense.
3-point field goal percentage, and like assist to turnover rate.
Right.
3. I think 1 they were second to last, 1 they were like 5th to last, and the other they were second or third to last. And the only team that was behind them in everything
was UCF.
And this is what kind of makes it hit home, Dave. We think of UCF as a fucking disaster offensively.
Yeah.
And Cincinnati is that much better.
This much better.
That much better.
Yeah.
That's sobering. So I don't think what Mo was saying was insane, but I think from my perspective, if that TCU game would have snowballed, and now there's a 15-point loss, and then another 17-point loss, and they just fell apart down the stretch, then yeah, like it's pretty clear that other teams got better and Cincinnati stayed about the same. I think there's just a limitation at the top of this roster that blocks the ceiling. I think it's one of those teams, and if you look, there was a graphic, I don't know if Evan Maya or somebody did it like 2 weeks ago, that showed like the top 7 players in each team's rotation that are in the tournament or on the bubble. And Cincinnati's was like this, and everybody else was like, here's our best player and here's our worst player. And Cincinnati's worst player was right in the same range with most people's worst rotation player. But the best player was just substantially better than the worst player, essentially.
Yeah.
And at that point, Dave, your ceiling, like that's a 6-foot ceiling, sir. I mean, that's not vaulted ceilings.
Right. I mean, I mentioned it the other night when the Kansas State game, when John got 18. I'm not sure, and I'd have to go back and look, so I don't want to say it 100% because I was looking. Like, I'm not sure anybody, maybe one time in conference play, we've had someone score 20 or more. Like when John had 18, I sent out a tweet because it was like the first time since January that anybody had scored over 17 in a game.
Right.
So it's very hard to beat teams that are as good or better than you if you don't have someone that can go get you 20, 22, 24 on a given night.
Yeah.
Not saying they got to average that, but like we've played 8, however many
But
conference
guess what,
games.
Dave? That's also the difference between having a guy, your leading scorer, that averages 12 and having a leading scorer that averages 16 or 17.
Right.
The difference is that guy's great nights are 25 and your guy's great nights are 19. And you add that up over the course of, this guy had 5 games over 20 points or whatever, and Cincinnati didn't have anybody. That makes such a drastic difference over the course of a season. You are exactly right, sir. I commend you. I don't commend many people. I commend you.
but yeah, I mean, they're good. They're gonna be in for it again Saturday.
Yeah.
Jesse Edwards had a monster game the other night. They play no defense, but they can score.
Yeah.
I mean, TCU
and guess what?
Put 100 on them at West Virginia, but I mean, Jesse Edwards had like 30-something and 16.
They couldn't guard him with their life last time.
And that was when he was just coming back.
First game back. First game back playing major minutes. He had played, 1-2 games before that where he was like he was just kind of getting in the flow.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Matt, good luck getting Dalton Connect out of Knoxville unless it's to the NBA.
I mean, this is a good point, Tyler. The weirdest part of this season is if you said before the year that by January, Vic becomes a non-factor and CJ plays 41 minutes in the Big 12, said it would have been a 2-win team. I think we all, I don't know if I'd have said 2, but I wouldn't have been a whole lot higher than 2.
Yeah. I mean, we're not that much higher than 2 now.
In this league, 6 is a lot higher than 2, Dave.
Yeah, it is. It is. But it's still not, I mean, like we talked about the other night. I mean, 7 is going to look a whole lot different than 6.
You got to get to 7. I think you got to get to 7, man.
I mean, because if you lose, you won 3 home games in the last 2 months of the season, 2+ months of the season.
Yeah. We'll beat West Virginia. West can't afford to lose. I hate to be the bearer of bad news, MA.
Unless you got like $15 million just hanging around at the outcome.
No, I was just going to say they've been in a lot of we can't afford to lose games this season.
Yeah.
And they won Kansas State.
Yeah.
And Texas Tech. I'll give them that. They couldn't afford to lose Texas Tech, and they didn't.
We'll always have starting the Big 12 season 1-0.
I mean, they were in first place.
They were in first place.
The Big 12 season.
Talk about a gag job last night.
Woo!
I fell asleep and they were up double digits. I woke up and they lost. I was like, what the hell happened?
That happens a lot in this league, Dave. Thank you, Crypt Keeper. He said, let it flow like a mudslide. Just thankful to be able to ride a glide with you. This show is awesome. We appreciate that, man. Much appreciated. Good to see that some of you found us tonight. Where the hell were you guys? We started at 8. But yeah, you have to win. How about our boy coming in to steal the shine from senior night on Saturday?
What's that? I'm not aware of what you speak of.
What do you think is going to happen Saturday?
Is Bob coming? Yeah. I saw he was there for their senior night the other day.
Yeah. I mean, he thinks he's going to be the coach at West Virginia next year. Ron, what's up, brother? Sorry, there's a lot. Hi, buddy.
No, he's not. And someone should probably tell him that, which I'm sure several people have.
No. He believes he's going to be coaching somewhere next year, which is probably true. I think somebody gives him a shot.
Hey, more power to him.
Yeah. John's final regular season home game, he goes 20-10. We win by 10. Well, they were up by 10 at West Virginia the last time, and that it didn't end great. It didn't end great. Josh says he wouldn't put it past West Virginia to hire him.
No, they got a new AD that actually has no ties to the university. They're not hiring him.
Yeah, next year is going to be tougher. I've been talking about this for weeks. 20 league games and 3 more teams and Arizona. So that will spread things out a little bit more.
I mean, yeah, Arizona, but like Utah and Colorado are on the bubble.
Yeah, and Arizona State's not like Bobby Hurley has gotten talent there. They've underachieved.
So, but yeah, I mean, it would be. I think it's not that it.
MA,
I'm not saying
I love you. 1 second, MA, I love you, but do you have the sense that this team is dominant at Fifth Third Arena? I have not picked up that sense this season. So, I mean, I understand wanting to account for home court advantage, and the fans have done their job, but the games have been close. They've gotten a couple bounces and won. They've missed a couple bounces and lost more than they've won. If they lose against West Virginia, they will be 3-6 at Fifth Third Arena this year in the Big 12. 4-5, you don't feel good about 4-5, Dave, but you don't feel like abject disaster at 4-5. At 3-6, it feels like you wasted an entire home schedule.
Yeah. So, but
Natty Ron, Wes is not on the hot seat next year. This is why we're not doing this tonight. Like, this is why I haven't been talking to you, because you've been talking crazy in the chat. And if I acknowledge you, that makes you feel like you have the opportunity to talk crazy. Stop. Next year's goal is win more games at home. Absolutely. I agree, sir. On that, we are 100% in agreement.
And out of here.
We are on the same page. Next year, they should win more games at home.
Yeah. I think that would go a long way.
But
yeah, I don't really
next
have
year.
much.
Look, we have all summer. To talk about next year.
I mean, I'm not talking about next year right now.
But look, I'll say this about next year: they have to make the tournament.
Yes, absolutely.
They have to. That's not. I think everybody with any skin in the game in this program understands you better be in the tournament next year. You had a tournament quality team this year, and you missed opportunities to play in the tournament. Next year, no excuses. You get a pass this year on being your first year in the Big 12. You don't get a pass, Dave. We're not going to be talking about, well, it's only their second year in the Big 12. No, that's not how this works. You learned, you had your opportunity to learn. You saw the league, adjust, adapt, do what you got to do to win more games. Yeah, everybody's nervous. Look, I think everybody's nervous because they had a team that had enough talent to make the tournament. And they haven't been able to get over the hump enough, even though it's only 1 or 2. If they win 1 or 2 more games, like if they're sitting at 8 and 9 right now instead of 6 and 11, if they win 2 more games out of all these close games, and they're playing Saturday for that 9th win, and where we'll all feel pretty comfortable that they're going to be in the tournament, we'd be having a different conversation right now, but we're not.
Right.
So because we're not, people are going to be a bit nervous because next year it can't go south. It can't be in a position where every game you're like, man, you can't afford to lose this one, because then the math gets really hard. Like, you want to be talking about, okay, they're holding serve. They're doing what they need to do. They're a game. How about being a game ahead of schedule, Dave, in this league? I'd like to, through 12 games, think about how different the conversation is if they were a game ahead of schedule instead of a game behind. Because that's where we felt through the first 12 games. Like, they're probably one game behind. And now they get a chance over these final 6 to make up some ground.
It's very hard to chase wins in this conference because it's very hard, unless you're at the top. It's very hard to put a real winning streak together. I'm not talking about 2 games. I mean,
you're not winning 4 in a row.
Based on how your schedule falls, you could win 2 games. But, like, yes, how many teams have won 4 more games in a row? So
very few.
You know, they were constantly chasing this year.
We've talked about it every Wednesday for 2 months. And we're still talking about it, except now it's
outside of a hilariously unexpected run all the way to a conference championship.
Which, no way you slice it, they would have to win 5 games in a row to do that. Because if you don't win Saturday, you play Tuesday. And you'd have to play 5 games to win a Big 12 championship.
But if you win Saturday, you still have to play 4.
You have to play 4, so you'd still have to have the Saturday win, and then you'd have to win 5 in a row that way.
They haven't won 2 in a row since December 29th and January, whatever the BYU game was.
Right.
But now they're going to win 5 in a row?
Right. I'm not confident in that happening, Dave. If I was in Reno, I would not place a wager on that being a likely outcome.
No, well, I won't be, and I won't be.
I love it. All right, I'm out. I'm tapped out.
I'm all set.
All right. Thanks to our sponsors, Holy Grail, Turtles Brew, Team Ticker. We will see you next week. I have no idea what next week looks like because of the tournament. We'll figure it out and let you know as we figure it out. That's a wrap. This is the BCJ Podcast, brought to you by the Holy Grail, right here on BearcatJournal.com.